welcome to this exclusive conversation with Mr. Prateek Pant, Chief Business Officer, WhiteOAK Capital. Welcome, Mr. Prateek.
Thanks, Geetu. Thanks for having me here.
Most welcome, sir. Prateek, let's begin with the WhiteOAK Capital Group. It is a well-established and well-known name now. Tell us something about the group. Like, what is the background? When was it formed? Who's the founder? And what has been the journey like? You are now one of the largest FPIs in India.
Sure. So it's nice to hear that we are well established. We are a very young organization, actually.
Yes.
Compared to a lot of names in the financial services industry, the history of WhiteOAK is about 5 years old. We were established in June 2017 by Prashant Khemka. Prashant used to be the CIO for Goldman Sachs for the emerging market as well as the India business. He comes with a very strong investment management pedigree, right? And from there on, what WhiteOAK did is that they established, connects with institutional clients across the world, set up their first fund in Mauritius. Again, all the mandates which WhiteOAK has right now is about advising global investors to invest into India. So while we manage roughly about $6 billion or about 43,000 crores of capital right now, all of which is managed out of India. Initially, as I said, through a Mauritius structure. Subsequently, we actually filed for a local mutual fund in Dublin for global investors to invest into India. And it's among the top 5 largest global mutual funds which invests into India right now. We also have a closed-ended trust structure, which is listed at London Stock Exchange. And of course, in the last 3 years, set up, the portfolio management, PMS and AIF, equity structures in India, and have been dealing with more than 8,000 investors right now. So that's a little bit of a background of where WhiteOAK is.
What are some of the aspects that will differentiate WhiteOAK Mutual Fund from other asset management companies, some of which have been in business for several decades now?
Sure. So I think this is a question which keeps coming to us, that we are maybe the 43rd or the 44th AMC, and is this market ripe for taking many more players out here, and how do you differentiate? I think the starting point of this, Geetu, is that this AMC has an investment DNA, right? So it has been set up by Prashant, who's a pure investment professional. We are not a fintech. We are not really a distribution house or a bank house or an NBFC or a broking company. In fact, a pure investment professional has been given an asset management company by SEBI to really launch mutual funds, after having a very solid pedigree of more than 2 decades of managing money in the markets. And that's where when you look at what Prashant did, even when we set up WhiteOAK, was build a very strong investment team. Even before we raised the first dollar of capital, Prashant had 9 members in the investment team. Out here today, we have more than 25-member investment team, which manages both capital which has been raised domestically as well as capital which has been raised overseas. So you will find a team out here which has strong investment expertise, which believes that there are pockets of in the Indian market where alpha can be created for investors. And I guess we're strong proponents of creating alpha through active investment management. And I guess that will be one of the important differentiation factor.
Talking about WhiteOAK's strategies, they have delivered strong performance since inception. In this regard, can you please take us through your team's investment philosophy?
Sure. So I guess, I just spoke about Prashant and the whole expertise around investment management, which we have out here. And, what I would say is that, we've created, when WhiteOAK was set up, there was a solid culture of performance first, which has been built out here. And this whole culture of performance first is really built around 4 pillars, which are there. The first of that is really our people, right? And a lot of people do talk about people, but I spoke about our very strong investment team. this team does have, wide varied experience of not just investing in India, but in investing in markets around the world. And this becomes quite important, Gitu. Like, for example, when you look at some of these new age companies, right, which are new in India, but, an IPO of Amazon was in the US 2 decades back. And a few of our team members have had experience in investing in emerging markets around the world, right? So that gives us a fair bit of experience of understanding some of the larger global trends which are going to come into India, as we do tend to follow some of the both developed and the emerging markets right now, right? So people becomes a very important strength which is there. The second aspect of it is really the process, right? We are pure stock pickers, right? We don't believe in noise in the market. We don't look at macros. We don't take sectoral calls, right? So at any point of time, you would see us talk about stocks or how we build our portfolios bottom up, rather than actually comment on what's going to happen with interest rates or inflation, because those are factors, which are more noise factors, which are not controllables. Over a long period of time, we've seen markets deliver very strong inflation plus, type of returns in India. And if you're disciplined stock pickers and can pick good companies across market capitalizations, you would find us doing well. The third aspect of it is really the whole balanced portfolio construction, which we have, or the portfolio construction, right? There are times you would find people following, trends in the market, saying that, value is doing good, or growth is doing good, IT is going to do better, or, when currency, so to give you an example, right? When currency is appreciating, people stop, people go underweight on technology companies, right? Or you start buying commodity companies because the commodity cycle is playing out as it is right now. You will find us fairly balanced in the way we will have, companies which are from the growth cyclicals, pro-cyclicals, or we'll also have companies on the counter cyclicals, right? So and that is what has ensured in delivering. I mean, you spoke to me about, how you delivered return or consistency of that return. That is where you find us delivering consistent returns over a long period of time, right? So some of these things really, help us. And there's a larger, process element, which is, we've trademarked a process called the OpCo-FinCo framework, which is now very well known to a lot of our investors and distributors, where we assign really weightages to the operating side of the business and how well a company is doing. And that really helps us, to find out how do you invest into these great businesses at the right value, right? So a combination of all these 4 factors, which I just spoke about, whether it's people, process, portfolio construction, or philosophy, helps in creating that consistent performance over a period of time, with alpha being delivered, at a portfolio level.
Prateek, for all this to give, favorable returns in the long run, you would need a strong research team. Tell us something about your team.
Sure. So I was briefly talking about that, Gitu, in our in the previous thing, that today we have almost a 25-member investment team in India, and we're adding another 6 people in Singapore, which will actually run the emerging market team. In fact, we will be probably the only domestic asset management company to have its own emerging market business right now, right? So this team, investment team, has not only do we have, a large investment team today, or the research team, which is there. We've got a very unique construct, Gitu, which you wouldn't find in a lot of asset management companies. We have a team within a team construct. So at any point of time, you would find, it's not just one sector analyst, right? You have 3 or 4 people who are able to cover one particular. So you'll have, financials being covered by 3 or 4 analysts, metals being covered, industrials, consumer discretionary, all these sectors. And that creates a healthy, interaction within the team on every sector, right? And our own ability, that's why, to create alpha at every sector level also becomes quite significant, because we're able to cover a lot more opportunities. So you would find companies with a market cap of 2,500 crores in our portfolio, as well as 200,000. So there is a wide range of market cap coverage, which can actually be done because of having a well-stocked team. The other aspect, as I said, is the team has experience, across market cycles, across geographies. So if insurance is a new sector in India, some of our senior team members, on the research side have actually covered insurance as it emerged in Korea, in Taiwan, in China, and they can see some of those. I mean, how do you build valuation models around insurance companies in India? Similarly, you look at diagnostics as a space, right? You had IPOs of diagnostic companies in the last couple of years, but we've already looked at some of these diagnostic companies in Mexico and in China. So that gives us a fairly wide experience of being able to cover this thing. So I guess this is something which distinguishes the whole research team which we have here at WhiteOAK.
What was the rationale behind acquiring a Yes Mutual Fund, and what are your plans for the domestic AMC business? What will be your product distribution and communication strategy going forward?
A lot of questions there. Okay, I'll take it one by one.
Yes.
So if I talk about the first part, so yes, AMC was, it just about had launched when it was hit by its own internal challenges, right? But it had a full-fledged licensed, licensing, as well as a team structure which was there in place. So it's much easier for pure, we were an investment boutique at WhiteOAK where we were running PMS, AIF, and offshore mandates, right? With $2.5 billion when we started that discussion. So for us to have a good team in place, which understands the risk side of it, which has a technology platform in place, which has some of the basic products in place, which includes the liquid fund, ultra short, and the overnight fund, gives us a very solid platform, to actually launch from there. So I would say the platform is what has helped us with the people and the basic product suite to really, let's say, get a 12 months, advantage versus setting up this entire structure from scratch. In terms of what our plans are, we are very, very excited by the opportunity in India right now. We again believe that India is coming out of this whole cycle where corporate earnings have picked up quite significantly. There are definitely green shoots within the Indian economy. If you recently heard the income tax commissioner talking, we've had the highest direct tax commission, highest direct taxes ever this particular year, fiscal year. So all these are clearly leading indicators of the recovery one is seeing, and I would believe that equities as an asset class would continue to do well. We filed for 6 different equity products right now. The first one where we've got approval is the Flexi Cap Fund, where we will go with an NFO on 18th of April. 18th to 2nd is what our first product offering on the equity side would be. But over a period of next 6 months, we would look in terms of launching a large cap fund, a mid cap fund, a large and mid cap fund, a tax saver, and an emerging market fund. So I did speak to you about how we're setting up a team in Singapore, and Prashant, because of his erstwhile experience at Goldman Sachs, of CIO of emerging markets, has a very solid track record of managing emerging markets. So you would find us doing domestic equity offerings, some of the global equity offerings which are there. And then over a period of time, we'll also add on some of the hybrid funds and fixed income bouquet as we see better cycle on the fixed income side. So plan is to be a full-fledged asset management companies. I guess the area where you will not see us, Gitu, is thematic bets, right? We are not a top-down fund house. We don't believe in suddenly going and launching an, a thematic fund, with a narrow area. We would be in areas which would cover the large part of the market, and hopefully, provide the same level of performance which people have associated with WhiteOAK in the retail mutual fund format. Coming to the distribution part of it, I think, again, there are great plans. I have sleepless nights setting up branch networks across the country. Plan is to be in, 90 odd cities in the next 18 to 24 months. We will set up about 125, 130 branches. Our own belief is that, you have to be there, omnipresence across all platforms or all channels for investors and distributors to reach out to you. So we will have physical setup. We will have a very strong digital platform, right? Being 44th AMC helps us to avoid a lot of the obsolescence which has happened in this space and directly take a leap forward with the latest technology. So you'll find us very, very digital friendly to a lot of the digital native diaspora, which is there. And at the same time, we've also set up a virtual business unit to service remotely investors across more than 200 cities where we would have presence, let's say 80, 90 cities, but we will have coverage across 200 more cities through our virtual business channel, which has been set up. So you would find across platforms, across channels, distribution outreach, which WhiteOAK is being there. So as they say, right, Kona WhiteOAK is what you will really start seeing us there.
Yes, India is an under-penetrated market, Prateek. Tier 2 cities, people still are not aware about mutual funds, how to invest and how to go about these. So will there be specific plans for expansion in tier 2 cities too?
Yeah, so when I say 90 odd cities, right, Gitu, our coverage is way beyond even B3. It's going to go to B30 plus. We will want to connect with investors and distributors in their language, in their medium of communication, talk to them about it. There has been a lot. I mean, I would not deny that there's been a lot of progress which has happened. If you actually see couple of things, right? One, the reach of the supercomputer in your pocket, the mobile phone, has helped in reaching out to pin codes you couldn't have through a physical presence. Supplement that with outreach through the distribution channel and working with the MFDs, in many of these markets, will help us, partner with them and then do investor education programs and talk to people about investments. I think earlier the focus, used to be just trying to sell pure equities. But some of the hybrid offerings and understanding of BAFs has made reaching out to many of these smaller markets and be able to offer returns which are between a fixed deposit and an equity mutual fund. That type of space is in a fairly more tax efficient and transparent way possible today. So you would see us working with many partners over the next 5 years. So I think there is a staggered approach in which we should be able to be there.
Wish you all the best, Prateek. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for your time, Geet.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to never miss an update from ICICI Direct.